I am going to be doing lives. I'm going to start doing lives nightly. I'm on like a challenge to do it for an entire year. So I thought that I would start off with telling my origin story, like how I became an Instagram marketer, like how it all started for me from the very beginning. And I'm sorry, my eyes are darting back and forth because I'm doing both Instagram and Facebook at the same time. So I've got another camera right on top. Um, so basically, in early 2006, I had a really bad back injury. It was devastating. I did everything that I could to avoid it. But, after looking at the MRI that I took, the doctor said that the only way that I was going to be able to not have to be doped up on morphine like every single day the rest of my life was to have back surgery, that it was that severe. I had a really bad accident. And so I spent about 6 years disabled. And then I had surgery in 2012, and then I did a year and a half of recovery. And thank goodness everything worked out good for the most part. But after that, my family kind of just they protected me and they took care of me in that time, and they helped me out with my children. And but after it was all done, it was time for us all to go our separate ways and for, everybody to get back to their lives. So, at the end of the day, it's been 7.5 years. I used to be an actor. I actually had a series on BET that had started to get some traction. I just kind of had to cut everything short because I got hurt. So, I hadn't worked. I hadn't been, networking with anyone in Hollywood. I didn't really have any connections, and I needed to feed my family. So I, jumped back into the job market. Now, the only problem is, well, it's interesting. So normally I'm the person that everyone in my social circle would go to get a job. I'm the one that, that you want to help do your resume. I prepare people for their interviews because I was just really good at that. And it was always very easy for me to get a job. So I didn't think that it would be a problem. But it was such a problem. Like, no one would hire me. Absolutely no one would hire me. Like, I tried for mid-level jobs, low-end jobs, high-end jobs. And it was just crazy because, like, on a couple of them, I got to like one of them in particular. It was a tech firm in Santa Monica, and me and another young lady had gotten to the third interview, and they had 3 jobs. And when you go to the third interview, basically you've got the job, and I didn't get the job, and it was just these crazy things were happening back to back to back. So much so that a girlfriend of mine was just like, think there's something going on. I don't think you're supposed to work. So I didn't know what to do because I still had mouths to feed. Luckily, I had some money that I could rely on at the time, but it wasn't going to last forever. So I just made a decision, and it was a spiritual decision. I told myself that, whatever came my way, I was just going to say yes to. I was just going to let God lead me, and whatever happened, because I was really picky prior to that. So I got a call and I was asked to be a fashion stylist, to be a partner in a fashion styling firm. Now, I had been asked to be a fashion stylist at many times over my Hollywood career, but it wasn't something that I was ever interested in, because I like to dress, but I wasn't ever interested in dressing other people. Just didn't hold interest to me. But I said I was going to say yes, so I said yes. I jumped in with both feet, and the company was starting off. So a lot of the things that we did, we were just building our reputation. But the way that we structured our business is that we had to, like, the only way we were really ever going to be successful was for us to do social media. This was back in 2015. So one of us had to figure out which social media platform, how we were going to do this. And my business partner was like, basically, I'd rather set myself on fire and jump from a building before I want to do social media. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing social media. And so if you know anything about styling, that that the hours are long. And so I didn't have a lot of time. So I needed to find a hit it or quit it solution. So I started doing some, deep dive into all the different social networks. And what kept popping up is like these stories out of Instagram. Like I just kept like seeing these crazy like success stories. And I'm like, what is this? And I remember just reading something about a post that Kylie what Jenner was getting paid $350,000 a post. And I was like, that's just absurd. No one, that's just not happening. So I started doing the research and I found out that it was happening. And another thing that was really interesting to me is that I started, and this was back when there wasn't a lot of information about Instagram because it wasn't hot like it is now. So I started deep diving into her page in particular, and I started like linking out to the people that she was tagging. Back then, I didn't know it was a tag. And I started noticing some very interesting things that the people, because they were associated with her, they were getting these other companies to hire them to talk about their products. And, you know, because back then influencer wasn't a word. No one knew what it meant. And so I didn't know what it was. And I was just really like excited about the whole concept of Instagram. And then the more I started digging into it and just started seeing like the technical facts, because I'm a researcher, I realized that Instagram was the platform that we should concentrate on if we just had to do one hit it or quit it platform. So I just dove in and I just started learning everything that I could about Instagram. And back then, like this was 2015. So there wasn't a lot of hype about it. There what's the word I want to say? There weren't any blog posts. There weren't, I think there was one course out there, but it was very, very expensive. And, you know, people didn't even say the word influencer or engagement. Those were just like little words that you had to go and figure out what they were. So I just started doing anything that I could to try to figure out how to do this platform, because I saw other people were winning. Like if they know how to do it, there's got to be some way to do it. And, you know, it took me a very difficult year. I literally stopped doing the other business as much and concentrated on this because it just captivated everything inside of me and just was just like pulling me towards it. And after that year, and it was a very difficult year. It was like a challenge that I had to overcome. I finally learned how to do Instagram. And I before that, I just thought that I was going to be, I thought before I started learning how to do it, I'm like, you know, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm going to be rich. And then when I got into actually trying to figure it out, I found out, wow, yeah, I don't even know what I'm doing. And that's what one of the things that took me on the journey. But one of the things that happened during that journey is that my whole goal of trying to, I'm sweating, wow. My whole goal of trying to learn how to do this was so that I could help with our business. But one of the things that I realized is that that I saw where Instagram was going. I saw that it was going to be this huge thing. And I also saw, and it felt like it was like a divine revelation that everybody was going to need it. But like my heart went out to people because, you know, I struggled that year that I learned it. And who's going to have time to do all that? Like no one is going to be able just to quit doing nothing and figure this platform out. And that's when I kind of like that whole year of struggling. I was like, you know, I'm going to help people. People are not going to go through what I'm going through. I'm going to make sure that it's easy for other people to do this. And so once I got to the end of that year and I learned how to do it, I started saying, you know, I started growing other people's pages. And then eventually, you know, I had a heart-to-heart with my business partner. And I told her that my heart was in helping people, that I was going to help other businesses when they came to the realization that they were going to need Instagram to grow their business, that I was going to be there in the crossroads to help them and to make life a lot easier on them. And that's when I started my business. And thankfully, you know, everything worked out, but, you know, I hadn't planned this. This wasn't the journey that I started out on. And I had no idea that it was going to take me where it has taken me to. So that's it. That's how I got started in this. I have no idea what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow, but show up. I will be here. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I'm really green at this, but I'm going to get better. But yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.